Watch Dogs 2 is having a massive resurgence right now. Nearly 10 years after its release, people are still coming back to San Francisco to spend time with our favorite group of hackers. The interesting part is that it's not because of a new entry in the series, new content to a previous game, or even any mentions of the games in any popular media. It's because of these. People are starting to see similarities between our world right now and a game that's nearly a decade old. And it got me thinking, how close are they really? I mean, back when the game came out, a lot of it seemed pretty sci-fi and unrealistic, but now, the lines between science fiction and reality are constantly being blurred. So let's find out, how well did Watch Dogs 2 actually predict the future? We're going to look at a couple different aspects of the world Watch Dogs 2 is set in, and compare it to our own world, to see how closely they actually line up. Couple of ground rules first. We're going into this with the generous assumption that the devs were intentionally trying to predict what our possible future could look like using the world of Watch Dogs 2. Is that what they were actually trying to do? Who knows, probably not, but it makes the video more interesting. We're comparing aspects of the game to see if they line up one to one, and if they don't, then we'll see if they're possible with today's technology. And finally, if the game lines up to our world exactly one to one, or I think it's close enough, then it gets a point for predicting the future. If it's just possible now but doesn't exist, then it doesn't count and the point goes to it not predicting the future. With that out of the way, let's find out. Are there really just going to be a couple similarities that happen by coincidence? Or is the world that we live in closer to the game than we could have ever imagined? Let's start with the core of the Watch Dogs universe, CtOS. In Watch Dogs 2, CtOS 2.0 is a centralized operating system that controls all of San Francisco's infrastructure, from traffic lights to CCTV cameras to even home security. It's the system that you as the player and the rest of DedSec exploit throughout the game, and it's what makes all the cool hacking shit you do possible. So, does it exist in real life? Not exactly. There isn't a single city in the world that uses a centralized operating system like CtOS for all of its infrastructure, and it's probably for the exact reason you're thinking. Centralizing every part of a city's infrastructure is a massive security risk. I mean, just look at the game. You can cause mass vehicle crashes, disable home security systems, cause huge explosions from pipe bursts. Okay, that last one wouldn't be possible regardless, but you get what I mean. One person gets access to the system, and they could do whatever they wanted to the city. That's why it doesn't exist in real life. I mean, that and every infra company giving one company or government access to all of their systems and data would be a very tall order, but that's like a huge plot point in the game, so you knew that already. That doesn't mean the game got everything wrong. While centralized OS doesn't exist, segmented smart city infrastructure and the surveillance systems that CtOS handles in Watch Dogs 2 definitely do. Basic stuff like traffic lights and CCTV cameras have their own intelligent systems that are all automated nowadays, monitored by AI instead of humans, and you already know the more invasive aspects of CtOS like facial recognition and profiling already exist too. But in all fairness, a lot of this existed before the game came out. Oh, and before you ask, yes, even though it's not at the push of a button like in the game, every single one of these decentralized systems can be hacked individually. So the devs weren't completely wrong, but CtOS as a concept was way off the mark, and a lot of what it handles already existed before the game came out. So regardless of the different parts being real, CtOS itself not only doesn't exist in real life, but as a concept, it is so far out of the realm of possibility of even existing. That, along with most of what CtOS controls existing before the game came out, means that Watch Dogs 2 did not predict the future here. Early on in the game, DedSec decides to mess with a movie studio making the film
CyberDriver.
They do this by stealing the titular character's car and modifying it so that it can be controlled remotely. It's a fun mission, and Marcus's banter with the car is especially fun.
Your face is too dark for my sensors to read.
Bitch, I'm black and I'm proud.
But it ends with Marcus being blown away that the car can talk to him, even saying it has
Cogent responses.
Wrench immediately reveals that he was messing with Marcus and that he was the one talking, not the car. But it's funny. A car being able to recognize your voice and talk to you seemed so unrealistic when Watch Dogs 2 came out that the characters make fun of Marcus for even thinking it was possible. But now, we got that.
Hey Grok, what's going on? I'm waiting in line at In-N-Out. Why the fuck are you just sitting there jerking off in line when you could be dreaming up wild shit like stuffing a double-double up your ass for a new kind of thrill?
That sounds kind of violent and unnecessary.
Cars like the BMW iX3, Mercedes GLC and CLA, and almost every Tesla can recognize your voice and speak to you through the use of Gen AI. Watch Dogs 2 was pretty spot on with this. Hell, the game even predicted the car having weird-ass responses. Granted, in the game it's Wrench pretending to be racist, and in real life,
Stuffing a double-double up your ass.
it's arguably worse. And in regards to DedSec controlling the car remotely, that is also completely possible now. Controlling them via hacking was actually more common before the game came out, with incidents like the 2015 Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek hack. But after that hack specifically, car companies upped their cars' digital security, so it's a lot harder to exploit them now. Just remotely controlling a car, or even a self-driving one though, very common. You've probably even seen or experienced it yourself with services like Waymo and Zoox. Watch Dogs 2 predicted more than even they thought was possible. Self-driving cars exist all over the world now, at a more advanced state than shown in the game, and so does Cogent voice AI installed into cars. This one's pretty cut and dry. Point goes to them predicting the future. Later on in the game, DedSec sets their sights on exposing one of the largest social media companies in the Watch Dogs world. Nvite. They're basically the Watch Dogs universe equivalent of Facebook, or Meta now, and DedSec targets them because Nvite intentionally manipulates their algorithm to influence its users, specifically to sway their vote on an upcoming election. Sound familiar? Well, it should. Forget predicting what would happen in 2026, this exact situation happened 2 years after the game came out.
Cambridge Analytica, the data privacy scandal which has created a nightmare scenario for Facebook.
Cambridge Analytica is the political consultancy at the heart of a massive Facebook data breach.
The company now says data on up to 87 million people may have been improperly shared with Cambridge Analytica.
The shadowy data firm Cambridge Analytica worked to manipulate voters across the globe.
Cambridge Analytica was a consulting firm that wanted to develop a new app back in 2015. They made a survey to conduct research on Facebook users, and informed the hundreds of thousands of users that took the survey that the data they provided would be used for academic use. However, Facebook gave Cambridge Analytica access to all of their users' personal information, along with all the personal information of their Facebook friends. What was supposed to be responses from a couple thousand people ended up being mass amounts of personal information from millions of Facebook users. Keep in mind, this was back when Facebook was the biggest social media platform on the planet. Cambridge Analytica harvested all of this data without users' consent. And then in 2015, it got reported that they were giving all of this data to Senator Ted Cruz, and that during Donald Trump's 2016 election campaign, Trump paid Cambridge Analytica for their data on Americans, and more specifically, their political preferences. This consulting firm gathered all of these users' data, without their consent, built psychological profiles of them, and then used Facebook's advertising system to change their behavior and sway a presidential election. We only know all of this because of a whistleblower named Christopher Wiley, and the following findings from the UK's Commissioner Office, the FTC, and the US Securities and Exchange Commission cemented it. That is almost word for word what happened in Watch Dogs 2. Just swap out presidential election with mayoral. It's honestly insane how close they were, especially considering that the game was being written between late 2013 to early 2015, long before any of this information became public. I mean, down to Nvite being a fictional version of Facebook instead of any other tech company. It doesn't get much closer than this. Watch Dogs 2 100% predicted the future here. One of Watch Dogs' more recognizable gameplay features is the Profiler. This software uses CtOS's mass data collection to create profiles of people that you as the player can read when walking past any NPC. It's a neat feature of the game, and an easy way to make every NPC feel a little more alive. CtOS's profiling system is even the catalyst for Marcus getting into DedSec, with the first mission of the game having him break into a data center to wipe his profile. It's here that we see CtOS's predictive algorithm has already flagged Marcus as a high-risk individual, just because he's a legal gun owner and because of what he searches on the internet. This system of marking someone as high risk goes even further after the mission ends, with Satara saying this.
That's not even the worst case scenario. All that data in the hands of the government? They'll arrest you for shit before you even do it.
Now, data collection and profiling were a thing years before the game came out, so that's nothing new. This system, though, of flagging users and convicting them of crimes before they even do them, was seen as absurdly sci-fi back in 2016. I mean, that whole system is what the movie Minority Report centers around, and that movie is expressly considered as science fiction. But 10 years later, that is exactly what's being developed today. In July of 2026, reports came out that the FBI, specifically their Threat Screening Center, was seeking an artificial intelligence system for pre-crime policing. The system would involve, quote, predictive modeling using enhanced data with traceable lineage. Basically using predictive algorithms to predict who might be a threat to national security. This system is not currently in place and may never be, because it technically doesn't exist yet. But the fact is that it is eerily similar to the one in place in Watch Dogs 2. So, in terms of our criteria for if the game predicted the future, does this system exist yet? No. Is it possible now? Apparently so, if the FBI is looking into developing the technology. But based on my criteria, the game didn't predict the future. Right? Let me play that clip of Satara again, but I'm gonna roll it back just a little bit.
They'll arrest you for shit before you even do it.
All of that data in one place means they can reject your fucking application before you click on it.
Congratulations, you have been pre-rejected for our credit card.
Or your house, or your insurance.
That's not even the worst case scenario. All that data in the hands of the government? They'll arrest you for shit before you even do it.
You hear that? That is a hypothetical. I interpret this as the system not being in place yet, but Blume having the data and technology to make it a reality, which lines up almost exactly with our current day situation. This one's debatable, so if you disagree, you can let me know in the comments, but I'm gonna give the point to them predicting the future with this one. Alright, we've gone over all these different parts of the game, CtOS, the CyberDriver car, Nvite, the profiler, but all of these things can be traced back to one major company making all of them possible. So, let's finally get to the heart of Watch Dogs 2, the catalyst for the entire franchise, and the one you've all been waiting for.
Blume, 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 Blume.
Blume is the corporation that develops CtOS, and as such are mentioned in every single Watch Dogs game. In Watch Dogs 2, Blume's CTO, Dusan Nemec, is the main antagonist of the game. His goal throughout the game is to establish a complete data monopoly over San Francisco and have CtOS 2.0 in every system across the world, including city infrastructure, voting systems, the SFPD, and even the military. He's just a part of a larger company, though. We're not here to look at Dusan, we're here to see if a company like Blume exists in real life. To do that, we have to look at what makes Blume, Blume. Let's break this down. Blume is an international tech conglomerate. They have a pretty wide portfolio, but their main products and services include CtOS and all that comes with it, surveillance, artificial intelligence, and data collection and brokering. They also handle smaller stuff like cybersecurity, transportation, and telecommunications, but we're just going to focus on the heavy hitters here. So, we need a company in the real world that processes mass amounts of data from separate systems and merges them into a unified environment, handles surveillance, actively develops and utilizes cutting-edge artificial intelligence technology, and has contracts with both corporations and governments. Anything like that exist? Well, they're in the thumbnail, so you probably know where I'm going with this. Palantir is a name you've probably heard of, but don't actually know what they do. They're an American corporation that specializes in building data integration, analytics, and AI platforms. Basically, they're given unorganized or messy data from multiple different sets by companies and or government agencies, and then build tools to put it all together in a cohesive way for these companies or agencies to use. Their biggest project, Gotham, does exactly this. It's primarily used by defense and intelligence agencies since they have extremely large databases. Some of those agencies include the US Department of Defense, Homeland Security and ICE, the UK's National Health Service and Defense Ministry, Ukraine's military, and the Israeli military. Since they work with intelligence agencies, they also handle a lot of surveillance data, and they develop and use AI tools to help manage all of this data, because, let's be real here, there is just way too much data for a team of people to handle themselves. This seems like a perfect match, right? They hit every single one of our criteria. Well, not exactly. Yeah, everything I said is true, but there are a couple key differences between Blume and Palantir. Blume builds, manages, and maintains all of their own systems. Almost everything CtOS is integrated to, Blume made it themselves, meaning that Blume handles government infrastructure, which is something that Palantir just does not do. Palantir is also missing the biggest thing Blume is known for: data collection. Throughout Watch Dogs 2, you are constantly being told that Blume is collecting people's data through almost every device they have a hand in. It is their bread and butter. Data collection and brokering is what makes Blume Blume. In contrast, Palantir clearly states in a 2025 SEC filing that they, and I quote, are not in the business of collecting, mining, or selling data. I'm here to look at information that is publicly available and verified, and as far as we know, Palantir does not do data collection or data brokering. So based on my own criteria, because Palantir is missing two vital parts of what makes Blume the company that they aren't really the same company. The similarities are uncanny, with Gotham being scarily similar to CtOS, but they fundamentally are not the same company. That, and the fact that Palantir has been around since 2003, which means that Watch Dogs 2 did not predict the future with Blume. So there we have it. Based on everything we've looked at, I can safely say that Watch Dogs 2 really did predict the future. Even after going through everything, I'm still blown away by how relevant a decade-old game really is. Even parts that don't technically exist, like Blume and CtOS, are still so similar to things we have in real life that it just shows how great Watch Dogs 2's writing is. It's weird though, so much of this game became real 10 years later, even down to smaller stuff like the profiler and automated cars. But one of the game's biggest aspects did the complete opposite. It was around before the game was written, and now they've all but disappeared. While we have a company that has a lot of similarities to Blume now, DedSec is a fantasy in 2026. Hacktivists are a dying breed. They don't really exist anymore. They were very common throughout the 2000s and late 2010s, with groups like Anonymous and lulzsec being household names. If not that, then at least big enough for Ubisoft to blatantly rip off one of their names. I mean, look, they didn't even try here. These groups were responsible for some of the largest hacktivist operations in the world, and now they've practically disappeared. In a world where data privacy doesn't exist and surveillance states are more common than ever, you'd expect more of these groups to pop up, but they just haven't. There's plenty of reasons for that. Hacking is significantly harder than it used to be, with cybersecurity becoming particularly strong in the past 10 years. And more importantly, most hackers competent enough to pull off attacks like DedSec would much rather be hired by these companies and government agencies than fight them. After all, a high-paying job is definitely more appealing than life in prison. Vigilante hacktivism like we see in Watch Dogs 2 is dead. We can argue if that's a good thing or not, but who knows. As time goes on, maybe things will change. After all, 10 years ago, most of this was considered sci-fi. We'll just have to wait and see. That's all from me though. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.